Free games, real competition, zero excuses. These 25 Steam multiplayer titles are built to be played right now. Kicking things off at number 1, Counter-Strike 2 is the definitive benchmark for competitive multiplayer on PC, and it is completely free to download and play. Valve rebuilt the legendary CS:GO from the ground up using the Source 2 engine, delivering smoother performance, redesigned maps, and a revamped smoke system that genuinely changes how rounds are played. The skill ceiling is as high as ever, and the ranked system gives you something to grind for, whether you are a weekend warrior or a daily grinder. With nearly 1 million peak concurrent players recorded recently, the servers are never empty, and the competition is fierce from day one. Number 2 is Marvel Rivals, the hero shooter that stormed onto Steam in December 2024 and has not slowed down since. NetEase Games built a team-based PvP experience around the Marvel universe, letting you assemble squads from a roster of iconic characters and combine abilities through unique team-up mechanics. The destructible environments add a tactical layer that most hero shooters ignore, and the seasonal updates keep bringing fresh content. For players burned out on other hero shooters, this one lands differently because the moment-to-moment gameplay feels genuinely dynamic and not just cosmetically refreshed. Coming in at 3, Dota 2 remains one of the deepest competitive experiences in all of gaming, and every single hero is available for free, which is almost unheard of in the modern free-to-play landscape. Valve's MOBA demands patience and coordination, but the payoff for those willing to learn is a game with practically infinite strategic depth. 2 teams of 5 battle across a complex map, with objectives, item builds, and hero matchups that can swing an entire match in seconds. The global player base is massive and active, meaning queue times stay reasonable regardless of region. At number 4, Warframe is a third-person co-op shooter that has been building content for over a decade and shows absolutely no signs of stopping. You play as a Tenno warrior, piloting powerful exosuit frames with unique abilities, slicing through enemies in some of the smoothest movement-based combat on PC. The sheer volume of missions, warframes, weapons, and storylines available would cost hundreds of dollars in other games, but here, everything is earnable through gameplay. The 2025 content updates brought significant new additions, and the community remains one of the most helpful in free-to-play gaming. Number 5 is Apex Legends, the hero-based battle royale that elevated the genre by introducing legends with unique abilities and a movement system that feels absolutely incredible. Respawn Entertainment built this one with polish that far exceeds its price tag of $0, and the ping communication system alone changed how squads coordinate in online games. The maps are thoughtfully designed, the weapon variety is excellent, and ranked mode gives competitive players something meaningful to pursue each season. The game continues receiving updates with new legends and limited-time events that bring the community back regularly. Sliding into 6, Delta Force made a strong comeback in December 2024 as a fully free tactical shooter that gives you both a polished single-player campaign and a deep multiplayer mode without charging anything up front. The gunplay is tight and responsive, drawing obvious inspiration from the best military shooters out there, while adding its own identity through large-scale battles and well-designed operator classes. The extraction-style missions offer a different kind of tension compared to traditional deathmatch modes, and the consistent update cadence shows the developers are invested in growing this game long-term. Number 7 goes to The First Descendant, a looter-shooter RPG that launched in mid-2024 and carved out a strong audience with its visually impressive world and satisfying co-op gameplay loop. You and up to 3 teammates take on powerful bosses and clear missions across a sci-fi world, unlocking new descendants with distinct skill sets and building out your loadout over time. The gunplay feels weighty and rewarding, and the progression system gives you constant goals to work toward. For fans of Warframe and Destiny 2 who want something with a fresh aesthetic, this one absolutely delivers. At number 8, Path of Exile 2 launched into early access and immediately became one of the most talked about action RPGs in years. Grinding Gear Games built an entirely new campaign and reworked core systems, while keeping the deeply complex itemization that made the original legendary. The online co-op works seamlessly, and the endgame content is enormous in scope. The game is free to play, with cosmetic-only purchases, keeping the experience completely fair for everyone. If you enjoy dark fantasy ARPGs with staggering build variety, This is currently the best option available on Steam at no cost. Number 9 is Destiny 2, Bungie's long-running sci-fi looter shooter that pivoted to a free-to-play model and has sustained a passionate community through years of expansions and seasonal content. The gunplay is genuinely some of the best in the genre, and the variety of activities, from strikes to raids, gives players with different commitments something to do at every level. The base game content is fully free and substantial enough to provide dozens of hours of play before any spending feels necessary. The community-organized raid content in particular remains one of the most unique social multiplayer experiences on PC. Coming in at 10, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege went free to play and opened up one of the most tactically rich shooters on the market to everyone. The one-shot headshot mechanics, destructible environments, and asymmetric operator abilities make every round a completely different strategic puzzle. The game has a massive roster of operators built up over years of updates, and the free access tier lets you play the core competitive modes without spending anything. If you want a multiplayer game that punishes rushing and rewards genuine teamwork, Siege has very few rivals. At 11, Arena Breakout Infinite is the extraction shooter that arrived on Steam in September 2025 and brought a level of visual fidelity and sound design rarely seen in the free-to-play space. Every raid drops you into a tense PvPvE environment where you loot, fight, and try to extract with your gear intact, losing everything you brought if you die. The risk and reward loop is deeply compelling, and the gunplay feels grounded and satisfying. The game maintains a strong concurrent player count and receives regular updates that keep the meta from going stale. Number 12 is Once Human, a survival MMO set in a surreal post-apocalyptic world overrun by strange, stardust-corrupted creatures. You build bases, craft gear, and explore a vast open world either solo or with a group in one of the game's multiple cooperative modes. The 2026 content map introduced significant new features, and the Year of the Monsters update brought major system overhauls that addressed earlier criticisms. The world design is inventive, and the progression loop is more satisfying than most free survival games dare to attempt. Stepping into 13, Brawlhalla is a platform fighter that offers crossplay across every major platform, including Steam, consoles, and mobile, with a roster of over 60 legends available completely free. The mechanics are accessible enough for newcomers, but the ranked competitive scene has serious depth for players who want to improve. Free-for-all lobbies, ranked matches, and private rooms give you plenty of ways to play however you want. The regular seasonal updates introduce new legends and limited-time game modes, keeping the game feeling active and alive year-round. Number 14 is Paladins, Hi-Rez Studios' hero shooter, where the card loadout system lets you mechanically alter how each champion performs, not just how they look. Every champion is fully accessible without spending money, which makes it one of the most generous hero shooters in terms of what you get for free. The crossplay functionality and varied roster give it a breadth that is underappreciated given the game's smaller spotlight compared to bigger hero shooters. If you want deep champion customization in a team shooter that costs nothing to start, this is a very solid pick. At 15, Enlisted is a World War II squad shooter where you command and switch between multiple soldiers in massive historical battles, with authentic weapons, vehicles, and environments built around real campaigns. The scale of the battles is impressive for a free game, and the attention to historical detail makes each match feel distinct. You can take control of tanks, aircraft, and infantry all within the same battle, and the progression system rewards dedicated players with expanded roster options and upgraded equipment over time. Number 16 is Smite 2, the mythological MOBA from Hi-Rez that puts you directly inside the action from a third-person perspective, instead of the traditional top-down view. The shift in camera angle makes the genre feel far more accessible to players coming from action games, and the roster of gods from various mythologies gives the game a distinctive flavor. The free-to-play model is fair, and the existing player base transfers carryover content from the original Smite. Regular updates and a dedicated esports scene keep the competitive side of the game healthy. Coming to 17, Crossfire X delivers a military tactical shooter experience with clean mechanics and a well-structured competitive mode that holds up against paid alternatives. The game focuses on team-based objective play, with a variety of modes that suit both casual sessions and focused ranked grinding. The visuals are clean and the netcode is reliable, which matters enormously in a game where split-second reactions determine outcomes. For players who enjoy the tactical shooter genre but are not ready to invest in premium titles, this is a legitimate option worth hours of time. Number 18 is Gunfire Reborn, a first-person roguelite shooter where you run through procedurally generated levels, collect powerful weapons and scrolls, and build increasingly broken combinations to tear through bosses. The co-op mode for up to 4 players is where the game truly shines, as synergistic builds between teammates create moments that feel both chaotic and genuinely rewarding. The replayability is enormous thanks to the random item pools and the diverse hero roster, each with unique abilities that open up completely different build paths per run. At 19, Splitgate 2 revived the concept of portal-based multiplayer shooting and pushed it further with refined mechanics and improved maps designed specifically around the portal mechanic from the ground up. The gunplay is crisp, and the portal system adds a vertical and spatial dimension to arena combat that nothing else on the platform replicates. The developers have been active with updates since launch, and the community is enthusiastic about the competitive scene building around the game. If you want a shooter that genuinely makes you think differently about space and positioning, this one is essential. Number 20 is Supermarket Together, a co-op management game where you and friends run a grocery store together, handling everything from stocking shelves to managing employees and expanding your store with franchise points. The progression system is surprisingly deep for a free game, and the February 2026 update added manufacturing departments that layer in genuine industrial management alongside the retail chaos. Playing with a group of friends turns even mundane tasks into entertaining chaos, and the game continues to grow with new content that keeps the loop fresh beyond the initial hours. At 21, We Were Here is the free entry point into one of Steam's most beloved co-op puzzle series. 2 players are split between different locations and must communicate only through voice to solve elaborate environmental puzzles. The game perfectly captures the feeling of a real-life escape room, and the success it found as a free release spawned 4 sequels, none of which cost much either. It is the ideal starting point for co-op duos looking for something thoughtful and communicative, rather than reflex-driven. Number 22 is Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, Valve's twin-stick co-op shooter that remains actively updated despite being a 2017 release built on a 2010 foundation. You and up to 7 other players fight through increasingly intense alien infestations using a solid selection of weapons and character classes. The overhead camera gives it a distinctive look, and the tactical depth increases significantly as difficulty ramps up. For a completely free experience with a surprisingly dedicated modding community, the longevity here far exceeds what most players expect when they first launch it. Coming in at 23, EVE Online is the legendary spacefaring MMO, where thousands of players build corporations, wage wars over territory, and trade in a player-driven economy that is unlike anything else in gaming. The free-to-play alpha account tier gives you real access to meaningful content and progression, letting you experience the game's unique emergent multiplayer without any upfront cost. The depth is genuinely staggering, and the game's history is filled with player-created events that have become famous across the gaming world, beyond just its own community. At 24, Guild Wars 2 brought its entire base game to Steam and made it free, giving new players access to a massive MMORPG with one of the most fair business models in the genre. The combat is action-oriented and responsive compared to tab targeting systems, and the world is packed with dynamic events that pull players together organically without requiring formal group setup. The storyline in the base game alone offers dozens of hours of content, and the cosmetic-focused shop means you never feel pressured to spend to keep up with other players. In wrapping up the list at 25, Stalcraft X is a free-to-play extraction and survival game built on the aesthetic of the Stalker universe, combining base building, faction warfare, and tense open-world exploration into a package that punches well above its $0 price point. The atmosphere is dense and the community is passionate, with players forming long-term alliances within the 2 rival factions that shape the persistent world. The gunplay is satisfying, and the sense of danger in the zone keeps every session feeling meaningful. For fans of post-apocalyptic survival games who want a deep multiplayer hook, this one is criminally underplayed.